Let me give you a sense of, in the next half hour or so, a sense of what to expect in this class. The first thing is that this class is not just about information. It is also explicitly about transformation. What do I mean by that? You see, most of education today is about information. What is information? So we have a container, which is our mind, and information is about taking data, taking science, taking information, and putting it inside the form. That is information. Now, when this form is filled, that's when we're educated. More information, more data, better. Not enough. Because it's not just information that determines our well-being, our success, our self-esteem, our motivational level, the relationship and the quality of our relationships. It's much more than information. Transformation is about taking this form and changing it. Change, form, shape. Change the form. This is transformation. This is a distinction that I learned first from Ed School Professor Robert Keegan, who talks about this. Information in and of itself is not enough. Think about this example. You go for an athletic meet. Your aim is to get into the top 3, to be a medalist. You come in number 8. What's the analysis? What is the interpretation? Terrible. I just failed. You feel deflated, enervated. On the other hand, the exact same event, you came 8th when you expected to be top 3. You can interpret it as, okay, so what have I learned? I need to work even harder. You become even more energized. You learn from the experience. In other words, the same objective information, which is, I got 8th, I expected top 3. The same information, very different interpretation. One is a disaster, the other interpretation is an opportunity. One leads to loss of energy, the other one to an increase in energy. Or think about another very common example. We know of many people around the world who seemingly have everything, who are doing well, who have more than they need, and yet they're unhappy. And then there are people around the world who have very little, and yet never stop to celebrate life. And then we have the other way around as well, people who have everything and appreciate it and enjoy life, and people who have very little who see themselves as victim. In other words, it's not just the information that goes in, it's also the shape, the interpretation, the perception, the focus. And that is determined by the shape of the form. This is what I realized when I was an undergrad here. Seemingly, looking in from the outside, had everything. Doing well, sports, academics, socially, and yet my perception, my focus, my interpretation of life, not that great. Wasn't happy. The interpretation matters very often a lot more, as we'll see, than the information that goes in. One of the sentences that I'll repeat throughout the class is that happiness is much more contingent on our state of mind than on our status or the state of our bank account. And that's where transformation comes in, and that's why it's so important for well-being. What that will look like in practice is that we will cover not so much information, we'll uncover much more. And I don't mean that in the Berkeley sense of the word. I mean that in the academic sense of the word. In other words, what we'll do is uncover potential that we have inside us, that we've had inside us all along. Maybe we just didn't see, or maybe it was obscured by something or another. We'll uncover it so that we can utilize it, so that we can focus on it, so that we can perceive it. Here's a story just to illustrate this. So this is Michelangelo. One day he was asked by a journalist of his time, how did you create this most amazing masterpiece, David? To which Michelangelo responded, it was easy. I went to the quarry, I saw this huge piece of marble, and in it I saw David. All I needed to do was to chip away the excess stone, to get rid of the marble that shouldn't have been there. And when I got rid of this excess stone, there was David. Now obviously, easier said than done, but the story captures the metaphor of what this class very much is about. It's about chipping away the excess stone. It's about getting rid of limitations, of barriers, whether it's the fear of failure, something that we didn't have as kids, but today most people in our culture have it. It's about chipping away perfectionism that is debilitating and that often hurts us. It's about chipping away our ability for success because maybe we're afraid of success. Maybe we feel guilty about some of the things that we have in our lives and that in turn limits us. Maybe it's about chipping away the limitations in our relationships and why we don't thrive within them. This is what this class is mostly about. As Thoreau says, the soul grows more by subtraction than by addition. By getting rid of these limitations that are preventing us from fulfilling our potential, because our potential is in there in nature, and we'll talk a lot about human nature. It's there, whether it's through God, whether it's through evolution. We have a lot of potential that over time, with external voices, with being part of our culture, that very often these limitations are put on top of us, just like the excess stone. Lao Tzu, in pursuit of knowledge, every day something is acquired. In pursuit of wisdom, every day something is dropped. Knowledge is about information. Wisdom is about transformation. I was recently interviewed for a newsletter on coaching before a large conference on the topic, and the interviewer asked me, so what tips, what tools can you give from positive psychology? So I talked about some of the quote-unquote greatest hits, the importance of gratitude, the importance of physical exercise. I talked about the importance of spending time on our relationships, about taking time aside and simplifying, and so on and so on. And as I was going through my long list, she stopped me and she said, Paul, this is all good, important stuff, I know, but our readers already know that. I'm looking for the wow factor. Come on, surprise me. What can you tell our readers? And I thought about this question for a minute, and I realized that there is no wow. And I told her that, if there is a wow, the wow is that there is no wow. That's it. You see, because the overnight transformation emperor, the emperor of quick fixes, has no clothes. Doesn't exist. It's over-promising and under-delivering. A good life, a fulfilling life, a rich life includes ups and downs, includes pain and getting up again. It includes failure and getting up again. It includes success and celebrating it. Victories and losses, ups and downs, as we'll talk about next week. It's not about this one secret, one wow to the good life. And many of the things that you will learn in this class, you would have heard of before. Probably nothing new to you. You already know it inside of you. And you're going to say, well, this is common sense. And yes, a lot of it is common sense. However, as Voltaire once said, common sense is not that common. And this especially applies to application. So the aim of this class is to make common sense more common, especially in the realm of application. At the end of the class, here is what I'm hoping for. At the end of the class, if you decide to take it, at the end of the semester, I don't think, and I'm not expecting you to come and tell me, wow, Tal, thank you for teaching me so many new things. That's not what I'm expecting. I don't think that is what will happen. What I hope will happen is for you to come and say, rather than thank you for teaching me something new, you would say, thank you for reminding me of something that I've already known. And this is what the class is about. It's a constant reminder, twice a week. A constant reminder of what you already know, of what is inside you, the David that is inside you. And what this class will hopefully do is help you to chip away some of these limitations, whether it's cognitive limitations that prevent you from seeing what you already knew, emotional limitations that are preventing you from deriving the benefits of what you already know, or behavioral limitations, the ABC, affect, behavior, and cognition, that we'll talk about during the change week. It's about making common sense more common. Information in and of itself is simply not enough. It's not enough, and what we need in addition to our information highway is a transformation highway. Transformation highway or transformation backroads, to counter the fast increasing pace, because as we'll talk about next time, rates of depression are on the rise, rates of anxiety are on the rise, not just in this country, globally. It's literally a global epidemic. And to deal with it, more information will just not do. Just not enough. Here is Archibald MacLeish, who was a poet, was a Harvard professor. What is wrong is not the great discoveries of science. Information is always better than ignorance, no matter what information or what ignorance. What is wrong is the belief behind the information, the belief that information will change the world. It won't. Just adding and filling up our containers with more and more stuff, more and more information, more and more data, it's just not enough. We need more than that. This class will take the humanistic approach. And let me read you a quick excerpt by Abraham Maslow, who talks about this approach. If one took a course or picked up a book on the psychology of learning, most of it, in my opinion, would be beside the point. That is, beside the humanistic point. Most of it would present learning as the acquisition of associations, of skills and capacities that are external and not intrinsic to the human character, to the human personality, to the person himself. External refers to information. Internal refers to the transformation, the changing of the form. And when we talk about transformation, I actually mean it quite literally. Changing of the form, changing of the brain, as we'll talk about when we talk about meditation, for instance. Our brain today we know that our brain today can actually change. And through fMRI studies since 1998, a new concept came up, which is neurogenesis or neuroplasticity, meaning our brain actually transforms, changes its form throughout our life. So I don't just mean it metaphorically, I also very often mean it literally. Abraham Maslow continues, humanistic philosophy offers a new conception of learning, of teaching, and of education. Stated simply, such a concept holds that the function of education, the goal of education, the human goal, the humanistic goal, the goal so far as human beings are concerned, is ultimately the self-actualization of a person, the becoming fully human, the development of the fullest height that the human species can stand up to or that the particular individual can come to. In a less technical way, it is helping the person to become the best that he is able to become. And this was before the ad came out for the army. I'd be all you can be. This is what the class is about. It's the humanistic approach. It's about fulfilling our potential, chipping away those limitations. Now, to many of you this may sound naive, idealistic, Naivety is not idealistic, it is. And we'll talk about and discuss the importance of idealism and maintaining idealism if we are to introduce personal change, interpersonal change, or community or society change.